there guys, Nigel here again. Just want to say a quick hello and a happy new year to you all. It's New Year's Eve, it's about 5 o'clock and here I am out in the garage again. Getting a little bit cold now, I might go in a minute. So where are we with this Defender TDCI project? Basically I haven't done a hell of a lot on it the last couple of days. Even though I'm 56 years old, my mother kindly bought me the fantastic Lego Land Rover Defender, the new shape Defender, which I absolutely love. I will probably get one day. A lot of people don't like it. I actually like the look of it. Now, technically, I don't like modern technology and electronics and everything that much. But to actually look at it, I think it looks lovely. I haven't seen one in the flesh yet. I think I'm going to be extremely surprised when I do see one, but yeah, love it. So where are we with this one? This, as you know, is my 2.4 TDCI sort of refresh project. Basically giving it a, painting everything and getting rid of all the rust and oil leaks and stuff like that. So in the last video I showed you I took the engine out and we found some oil leaks. We also discovered that the EGR system just makes a mess of everything, which we'll talk about more in a minute. And here we are now. What I'm doing today, I just want to show you around. I've got everything stripped down and I want to show you some of my findings. There's a couple of things in it. If you've actually got a later Defender, I think it's going to apply some of it from TD5 onwards, but particularly the Puma Defenders 2007 on, I think it's worth watching. So come with me and we'll have a look. Okay, so we'll just start with a couple of tips here. I'm not trying to tell anybody how to suck eggs, but if you're sort of new to this and you've never stripped an engine before and you want to have a go, this is just a little tip I always do. You can see here I've got a list written down in this book, and I've got here box A, and then I've got EGR cooler, 2x M8 plated nuts, 1x M8 by 25 bolt, then a gasket, and then we've got the EGR valve, 2 M8 by 20 bolts. And here's a box. This is box A, so this has got all the bolts in it. You can see we've got the glow plugs there as well. Basically what you do is put all those boxes in these old Chinese takeaway containers and label them box A, B, C, D, E, whatever. And then when you come to rebuild the engine, you can sort of start from the back and work forward. And then if you're ever sort of thinking to yourself, you've got a box and you've got all these bolts out in front of you, and you've got, I don't know, you might have 15 M8 bolts that fit the inlet manifold and the exhaust manifold, and there's 4 different lengths. You'll have it all in here, what they are, and all you need to do is find out where they go. So that's the good thing to do. The other thing I do is something like I've done here. There we go. This is the main. You've got that great big cast aluminium mount down the right-hand front side of the engine. And what I've done here, I've written out what the bolt sizes are because there's quite a few different ones. So it's just easier to do this now than to struggle later on. So, but I will say this engine is quite simple in its design. There's a lot of standardized bolts that just go in there all the same length. I've also made up this pin on the lathe. This is for locking the flywheel in place. So it's 10mm diameter there, then it's 14mm diameter there, and then this diameter here is just reduced so that it fits down behind in the block. And the lengths are, I will tell you now, yeah, 20mm there, and then 28mm there. So there you go. So you've got 20mm here, 28mm there. And then I've also made up this tool here, which you can see it's actually made of 2 pieces. I shrunk this outer piece on. And this is the tool for removing the front seal and the fuel pump cover. And that is basically, I think it's 84.5mm diameter. Let's have a quick look. I'm sure it's 84.5. 86.5mm diameter. Hang on, there's this thing 0. This one always goes out. Yeah, 86.5mm diameter, and then that's a 77mm PCD with 3 Allen bolts in it. And then basically this will also be the reverse of it. I will make into the tool that aligns the timing cover onto the crank, which you need to fit the timing cover on. You could just use the old seal, I guess, but just to make sure I'm going to have something solid so that I know it's actually held dead center and we're not going to be pulling the seal off to one side. So that's that bit there. Right, just moving on the bench here. And you can see I've cut the whole brake pistons there. I'm doing a test. I'm using this Foliatech brake caliper paint, and this is like a base colour. It's an epoxy primer, but it's so thick it goes on. It's like trying to brush on treacle. So I've had to go thinning it with some acetone, and it seems to have worked. It's dried off okay. So moving on, we've got the old brake seals there. Front pulley, which Ford lovingly give a really good coat of paint, as you can see. And then there's some more bracketry here. Here's all the valves out of the head, and let's just get one of these valves and show you. This is what the EGR does to your engine. Okay, that's 16,000 miles. Look at the build up on there. And you know, this is one of the things I hate. I'm going to have a rant now. This is one of the things I dislike about modern technology and all this emissions and everything. I'm all for saving the planet, and I'm all for not sort of just needlessly destroying everything and making the world a worse place. But these engineers, they come up with this, and this situation, it removes NOx. Okay, so you're lessening the NOx in the exhaust by pumping some exhaust fumes back into the engine, and you're actually reducing the output, the crap coming out of the exhaust basically. But you're just entering that crap back into the engine, which makes the engine less efficient, which makes it burn more fuel. And if you've got a later one with the DPF, then every now and again you've got to go into this crazy DPF refresh cycle, whatever, which means you've got to go for a long drive and blast it down the motorway to clear the DPF out, which makes the fuel, which makes it even hotter, which produces more NOx. So I just don't get it. I mean, all this stuff is great when it's brand new, but once it's done a few miles, if you've got a Land Rover that's done say 60,000 miles, imagine what your inlet valves look like. I'm looking at that, that's 16,000 miles. It's disgusting. So, but anyway, there's all the valve drape components in my dog's advent calendar. Now, it worked out four compartments down here and 4 compartments up there, so that worked out really well. So that's all them all sorted back in there where they belong. And then here I've got my dirty old wash tank. Now, if you've got one of these little tiny Clark wash tanks and you need something bigger, just put it in a plastic box like this. You see here I've got a plastic box it's in, and then you can splosh it around everywhere and it runs into the bottom of the box, and then afterwards you just pour it back in. I mean, this is going to be so filthy, it's just going to be fit for throwing away anyway. But that's a little tip for you for making your wash tank bigger. Here's the block, and all rusty. There's no paint on it whatsoever, and you can see on the inside it's all in really good condition. The reason it's stripped down this far is because I had an oil leak at the back, and I had an oil leak at the back of the head gasket. I had an oil leak here, and I couldn't make out if it was the timing cover or this, but it was right back here. So I'm convinced that, maybe it was on this side, but I'm convinced that there was an oil leak there. If you get the right gasket set, it comes with these gaskets anyway, so basically I thought I may as well do it, and then I can paint the block and everything as well. So that's all done. And also, when I looked at the engine, I had a very small amount of corrosion in the top of one of the bores where it's been sat. Whether it's because it's been sat around a lot outside and it's got damp, I don't know, or whether it's because of the EGR or whatever. But I'm just going to basically give it a hone just to basically deglaze the bores, and that will be it. I mean, the pistons are absolutely fine. The rings aren't even worn. If I think of it, I'll put a picture up and show you what the rings look like. Here we've got the sump all cleaned out, getting rid of all this silicone sealant around the top here. There's the head, that's all done. These ports were completely blocked up, well, not completely blocked up, but there was probably a good 1.5–2 millimeter thick coating of carbon and shit all around them, and the exhaust ports obviously needed cleaning out. But I'll give all them a clean and give them not a polish, but just take some of the rough edges off and make it less easy for the carbon crap to stick. I'm not recommending anybody should block off their EGR system, but it's something certainly worth looking into. Let's leave it there. Something else I found that I think you'd be interested in, especially if you've got an older TD5, because I think the chassis were made in the same way. This is your gearbox crossmember. Now obviously what Land Rover have done here, which I think is really bad, is they bolted the crossmember on before it's painted. So you can see down here, we've got, this is bare metal. Okay, and we've also got bare metal here, and you can see that mine has started to rust. Okay, now this is even though this, you can see this line all the way around, this thick line, that's Waxall. That's where I've plastered it in Waxall. It's all Waxall all down here. Yeah, but even though it's Waxall, it's still rusted because obviously the Waxall can't get into that gap when it's all clamped up. So it would be worth looking at your Land Rover, because this is only a bracket at the bottom, but this is the actual box section of the chassis itself. So if this is rusting away in here happily, you're going to end up with 2 great big holes in your chassis before long. So yeah, worth looking at, especially if you're regular driver and you've done quite a few miles in the winter and everything. So that's your gearbox crossmember. And to get that out, rather than beat it out what I do, I get a length of wood and an old, there it is there, that's actually an old Porsche silver, it's a Porsche, well it is silver, but it's an aluminium little jack, and I put that in the chassis and just jack the chassis apart until the cross member falls out, and then you know you do it, and then you put it back in the same way without scratching all the paint. So so there we are basically, and that's about it I think for this video. So this is where we are. If you are going to do this, I would recommend getting the Wrights gaskets, not the Britpart one, because it's not that it's, I mean, for saving a few quid, it's about £75 cheaper. But, you know, the engine is not difficult to take apart, but there's a hell of a lot of work involved in getting it out. So, you know, if it's an old 200 TDI or something, working on it in the Land Rover is no problem, but there's a lot of this you couldn't do inside the vehicle. I mean, I wouldn't like to do this in the vehicle, for instance. So there we go. Oh, the bearings, by the way, the bearings are absolutely mint. They're completely unmarked, but I've noticed I can get a set of King bearings for like £15 for the mains and about £12.50 for the con rods. Now, whether that's per bearing or not, I don't know, but it seems ridiculously cheap. So, and the cheapest place I found for the gaskets is Island 4x4. So anyway, it's another one for you guys. If you are actually a shop or a seller, check what you're advertising, because all the sellers I've seen are selling the Wrights gasket set and labelling it as a head gasket set, and the actual part number they've got isn't. It's a full engine set. So worth looking into that one as well, guys. And I've seen it from 109 up to 160 quid. So be careful to shop around. So then, there we go, guys. Thanks for watching this little video. Got the light reflected off my nose, like I've broken my nose or something. So yeah, thanks for watching this, and I'll see you all soon. Have a great new year, and I hope 2020 brings everybody health, happiness, and wealth. So I'll see you all soon with another video. Hopefully, when we've got this engine looking a bit cleaner, at least, all ready to go back together. Oh, and one more thing. There is a channel on here called TDM 4x4. Young lad, Northern Ireland, got a little bit, looks like he's got a business on his own. I'm not sure if it's on his own or if he's just works there, but he's doing a complete rebuild of a 110 TDCi. He's also doing a build of a 200 TDI, and he's got a great little channel going where he shows you how he repairs a lot of these more modern Land Rovers, and he's also talks a lot about the home mechanic and how to diagnose faults without having all this electronic equipment and everything. He's done a fantastic series of videos on a Freelander 2.2. That engine looks like a complete bloody nightmare, but yeah, he's done a video on diagnosing faults, and then he ends up changing the engine because it's got a diesel injector problem, obviously, and it's just full of diesel. So basically it's like half and half engine oil and diesel. So go take a look. TDM 4x4. He's only got about 160 subscribers, and he deserves a lot more than that. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you all soon. Have a good night. Don't drink too much, and if you do, you'll only regret it in the morning, because that's exactly what I'm going to do. Bye for now.